Welcome to this video. In this tutorial, we will explain how to connect the Dragino temperature and humidity sensor via T-Mobile IoT Creators to the Withthegrid platform. We have a detailed description of all the steps required that we've written for IoT Creators, but I will actually walk you through all the necessary steps so you can see how this is done in practice. So with step one, we start by creating a monitoring environment. We can create, give it a name, which will prompt us to create a location. We're going to be placing a sensor in a physical location, so we can actually create one right now. And let's give it test location 1. We don't need to create a report. Next step is to create a new connectivity environment. Let's call it a tutorial developer. And in this connectivity environment, we will be following the next steps. The step 2 is to create the webhook. So let's go to webhooks and add a new webhook. And since we're working with IoT Creators, it's a good idea to give it a name, IoT Creators, since later on you can have multiple webhooks. The next step is to create a device type. As you can see, if we move to step 3, we need to create and configure a new device type. So our device is actually the Dragino N95S31B. We can just add this device, but for now we can also change this device channel name to internal sensor. This is where the measurements are actually pushed. And the Dragino has the built-in temperature and humidity sensor, so we call this channel internal sensor. If we go to device types, we can see that this new device type is created and it was given a unique hash ID. The next step is to create a new report type and quantities. So following a similar steps, we create a new report type, which we call Dragino N95S31B. We can give it a name report. And because we are working with temperatures and humidities, we'll need 2 new quantities, temperature, and initialize it with a unit. And the same we can do for humidity. As you can see, each quantity is also given a unique hash ID. Next steps explain how to configure the parts that we have just created. So the webhook, the device type, and report type. So let's start with the webhook. You can just copy this code. Navigate to webhooks, IoT Creators, and edit the identifier. You'll be given a default template that for now we'll just delete and replace with the code that's provided on IoT Creators. If you see this line, it needs to be deleted, and the device serial parameter needs to be changed to let from constant. Can update, and then now we can move to device type. Edit the event handler, and again we are given a template which we will delete, and we'll use the provided code that we have made for this specific sensor. The next step is configuring the IoT creators and registering the device on the platform of IoT creators. And this starts by creating a new project on IoT creators. And in our application server, we can actually paste the webhook URL that we have just created. So if you navigate to webhooks, you are given this URL that we can copy and that we can paste here. You will not be able to save these changes before you actually register a device. So for now, we can create a dummy device so that we can register our webhook callback URL and see that it works correctly. Okay, we have registered the device, and we can take our URL, paste it to callback URL, and save. If we receive an error here, it means that something went wrong. We can go to activity, and we can see that this request was unsuccessful. You can see we cannot find a device type with a hash ID. So because each time you create a new device type, it is given a unique hash ID. You have to work with this given hash ID. So if we navigate to webhooks, here we defined that the Dragino device type hash ID is this one, but you actually have to change it to your own hash ID. If we now try again, we see that we successfully registered the URL. We can also see it in the activity, and we can see that there is no error here. We can now delete this dummy device and actually register the Dragino. So you will need the EMI of the device. The registration setup actually follows the configuration procedure that you can find in the datasheet of this specific device. So you actually have to connect a USB to TTL adapter, and to set the AT commands to change the APN, the IP address, and the port of the IoT creators. So we can do this by hooking up the device, putting the SIM card inside, and powering it up. You can use something like a serial port utility to do this setup. To confirm that everything was set correctly, we can go back to IoT Creators, and we can see that the message was received by IoT Creators. We are finished with the last step, and we can move to a next step where we can actually see if our incoming request was correctly processed. We can see here in red that our message was not correctly processed. This is because we used the hash ID from the template that we have provided, but the report type that we have created has actually its own unique hash ID every time you create it. So we have to change this to the actual one that we have in this case. You can see we are in the device type, and we will update the proper report type hash ID. Next step is to update this report type. We can again copy the code that's provided in IoT Creators. Again, we have to make sure that our quantities are set with the proper hash IDs. So each individual hash ID is unique and will be different for each implementation. So we have to make sure that the proper hash IDs are set in the report parser. In this step, we'll be looking how to claim tokens so that devices can be actually imported to monitoring environments. We can see that actually we have device registered in our devices in the connectivity environment, and we can export it using its hash ID. So we can click get claim tokens and use the hash ID of the newly imported device to receive this string. Next step is to move to our actual monitoring environment. And in devices, we can use the generated key to import the device from the connectivity environment. We can now see that we have this device, but it's not installed in any location yet. The last step is configuring the monitoring environment. So we can go to the location and we can actually place our device to a location where it's physically functioning. We can see we only have one device right now, so we can easily link it. We set the port where the measurements are actually pushed, so where we will track the humidity and the temperature measurements. So now that we have our device linked, we will be able to see in graphs any measurements that are pushed that are recorded by this device. Right now, this is empty because the device has not pushed any data yet. So we are back in the connectivity environment. We can see that the message was sent. We can also see it in IoT Creators. When we go to IP connection history, we can see that the message was sent recently. And if we go to activities, we can also see an event which indicates that the device was installed in a connectivity environment. And we can again see the incoming payload, which was correctly processed. And if we scroll down, we can see all the activities, all the chain of all the events, and we can see that we parsed the report correctly. We have registered 2 measurements, a humidity of 48% and a temperature of 23.9 degrees. We can come back to the monitoring environment. Tutorial environment. We can again go to our location. We can go for locations, location, graphs. we can see that the first point is shown here, and from now on new measurements will be shown in the dashboard. And this actually concludes step number 10, which is the last step of configuring the monitoring environment. If you're interested in such a device and you don't want to go through the hustle of implementing and setting up the AT commands and configuring all the settings in the webhooks, in the device types, and in the report parsers, you can click the link down below and we will send you a plug and play device completely configured with one Dragino temperature and humidity sensor, already configured T-Mobile IoT Creators connectivity, and 2 years with the Withthegrid asset monitoring cloud platform, most importantly, including support. So if in any case you have issues, you can contact us directly, and we will be happy to assist you. Thank you.